So apparently, Banta Claus made a visit to the modern format and dropped us off some goodies. So if you haven't heard the news, which I'm sure you have if you're watching a video on modern, we had a few bannings, a few unbannings in our beloved format. No more One Ring, no more Amped Raptor, no more Giganta. In their place, we've had a few unbannings of Faithless Looting, Green Sun Zenith, Mox Opal, and what was the last one? Green Sun Zenith, Mox Opal, Faithless Looting, Splinter Twin. That's right. Splinter Twin, the meme of modern that has been called for unbanning since, God, I couldn't tell you when that, I'm pretty sure Splinter Twin had people calling for it to be unbanned before the card was actually banned. That's how long it's been on the list. But regardless, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to start off my post-ban list testing. As many of you know, we've got the RC in Charlotte in March, and then we've got SCG Con Atlanta in January. So it kind of matters to find something pretty quickly that I think makes sense, that fits me. And I started seeing some Grixis lists pop up. These Faithless Looting list with Abhorrent Oculus, with Unearth. We already had the Demir package before with Thought Scour, but now we get to toss Thought Scour out the window and get us Faithless Looting. Arguably one of, if not the best card in Modern at the moment, now that, it's legal again. So we get to take the Demir shell, add in Faithless Looting, add in a couple of meltdowns in the sideboard for some of the artifact stuff popping up since Mox Opal's unbanned. But let's go through the rest of the list, and then we'll get into a live recording of a league. This will be our first recorded league post-unbanning, post-ban, post-unbanning. So hopefully you enjoy it. As always, if you enjoy the commentary, the content, feel free to leave a like, follow. Down below, all the socials, deck list, all that, blah, 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 blah. On to the list. Faithless Looting, obviously coming off the ban list, is huge for anything that cares about the graveyard. In our case, Abhorrent Oculus getting in the graveyard to be unearthed is a huge, huge, huge tempo swing for us as opposed to any of the fair blue decks in the format. To pair up with Faithless Looting, we've got 3 copies of Tameo Inquisitive Student. I've seen people going up to 4 copies. I think that's fine. But the second and third Tameo can still be pretty dead. With Faithless Looting, Psychic Frog, we have a much better ability to flip Tameo very aggressively. We've got 4 copies of Unearth, 4 Fatal Push. I believe some players like Pygonti have trophied with similar lists very recently. I kind of used bits and pieces of their list for inspiration. I wasn't a fan of the spell snares in the main, so I wanted to try out Spell Pierce. A little bit better into some opposing Faithless Lootings for Arclight Phoenix, for Hollow One that's apparently popping up some. We've got to Shoot the Sheriff and a Long Goodbye in the main. Long Goodbye, the uncounterable 2-mana removal spell for creatures CMC 3 or less. Great at taking out opposing frogs. In the case of this current potential meta, great at taking out Pestermites and Deceiver Exarchs out of Splinter Twin. We've got 4 copies of Orcish Bowmaster, a lot of Faithless Lootings running around, a lot of Flame of Venor, Splinter Twin decks, stuff like that. Being able to punish those extra draws, I think, will be really necessary in the coming weeks. 4 Psychic Frog, 4 Counterspell, 4 Abhorrent Oculus, 4 Force Negation. Seems like a lot, but you got to have some action against these unfair decks. You want your creatures taking over in the fair matchups, and you want your counter spells to lead the way in the unfair matchups. 2 Sink into Stupor to round out the mana base. In the sideboard, 2 Stern Scolding, 3 Hurkyl's Recall, and 2 Meltdown is definitely a lot of artifact hate to go along with the 4 Consigned to Memory. But I really want to know how these cards perform sooner rather than later. So at least in the upcoming probably couple weeks, I'm going to overload on artifact hate and then trim it back as I feel I don't need it as much and move it to other areas. But I have heard that the artifact decks are kind of running everywhere, so I'd rather have more hate than not enough. Got 4 Consigned to Memory because Tron's still a thing, even without the One Ring. 3 Nihil Spellbomb, a Toxic Deluge. And yeah, so this is the 75 we're going to run. Catch you back for the first round and see how this goes. All right, round number 1. Up against Arclight Milk. I wonder if that means Arclight Mick. I wonder if that means Arclight Phoenix. We are on the draw. We do have a frog, do have a counter spell. We've got a Faithless looting. If this is an Arclight Phoenix deck, this could be a bit too slow, but we'll see what we're up against. Bloodstained Mire Go doesn't tell me a whole lot. So we'll just go Tarn Go. Bloodstained Mire Go. I assume most of the Arclight Phoenix decks would be on pretty much all blue fetches for all their cantrips. So I don't think off the top of my head that it's an Arclight deck. With Faithless looting, you do have to remember that looting itself is kind of card disadvantage. You spend a card to draw 2, discard 2. So you net go down 1 card. Really good for card selection. But if you're just like casting it early when you're not looking for anything, you can just end up down on resources. So especially at a point like right now where I don't know what I'm looking for, I don't really want to just throw that looting into the yard for no reason. Got a Watery Grave. Interesting that they got a Watery Grave instead of an Undercity Sewers. I don't know if that tells me anything, but Artist Talent. So it probably is an Arclight deck. Talent, unfortunately, a pretty good card against us. So we'll get Undercity Sewers. Make sure we can play our frog on 2. Force isn't bad. Okay. Option number 1 is just play out the frog. And we'd have like counter spell or force negation back up. We can discard to protect the frog a bit. Option number 2 would be hold up the Bowmasters. We could punish Artist Talent. The downside would be if they just have like a lightning bolt or something, then they can kind of ignore the Bowmasters. So I think I'm going to play out the frog. And if they like go all in on getting back an Arclight, I can jump the frog and block if I want to. So there's a Phoenix. Temporal Trespass. So they're like Pioneer Arclight. Just ported over. All right, we'll see. I definitely want to save this frog. I could just discard, like, shoot the sheriff in my extra land. That's probably not bad. I could also just discard Faithless looting. Yeah, let's do that. Like, I'm already going down on cards. Are we going to let me discard the Faithless looting? Oh. There we go. Already going down on cards, so I feel like looting's probably not where I want to be right now. Make them discard first. They are putting a lot of resources into trying to punk out this frog. So get an Arclight back. I am doing a decent job of racing the Arclight. So much so that opponent's not even going to try to attack into it. Would you like to block? They are down to 2 cards in hand. So go up to 3. They've already used 2 lightning. Yeah, 2 lightning bolts and a gut shot. I think I'm going to keep this flooded or bloodstained mire around as frog food. So ping you upstairs. See if you want to discard. You do not. So we're just going to Manamorphose. Give me another ping off that. Deal. Buried alive. Okay, that's pretty hot. Really nice to see this Bowmaster do some work. So opponent's going to go ahead and get back all 4 Phoenixes. Just pretty gross. How are we attacking? It is a bit of an awkward attack. Like, you can't attack with all of them or you're dead on the crackback. You want to attack with 3, but you run the risk of me just having a removal spell to kill the 4th. And if you just attack with 2, then you might not have lethal next turn. Hit me for 9, down to 8. Removal spell. So close. Alright, so land Faithless looting doesn't do anything for me. I unfortunately can't make them draw 2. I do not have a legendary creature for Otawara. Well, little unfortunate. Timing of Phoenix means Bowmaster not able to ping them before they attack, or ping down the Phoenixes. Shoot my Bowmaster, sure. Just doing this to try to get back that other Phoenix. That doesn't get back the Phoenix. And I feel like you just have to go for it. Yeah, because if I had a removal spell, I would have just killed the last Phoenix and swung for lethal. So, fair call on their part. We do have spell bombs to bring in. Might bring in Deluge. Definitely not like a great card to have against them, but I'll at least think about it. Shoot the Sheriff. Long but goodbye, Mrs. Phoenix altogether. They might board in some sort of Phoenix alternative. Maybe they've got, I don't know, Thing in the Ice or something. It's not super different. I'll just go with this and try to look for like an Oculus hand. Think this is going to be too fair. Like, obviously, Bowmasters is a really good card, but they've showed us Gut Shot. So I don't want to keep a hand that's just, like, completely reliant on Bowmaster. I could turn one looting, but I'd have to find Oculus and Unearth. I think I'd rather just go down. Okay, well, turn one Tameo, turn two flip the Tameo, or play Bowmasters. We can keep this. And I think I'm going to get rid of the Watery Grave. I might want to keep the Swamp in case of Blood Moon. That would give me like Swamp for Blood Moon, basic island off the Delta. It is kind of funny. So this is my, I think, 4th league that I've played overall. Sounds right. 4th league since the unbannings. And I will say that I think Leyline of the Void has been like an absolute all-star card out of the sideboard. So I kind of miss not having it here. All right, I think I'm just going to be mana efficient and get Bowmasters down. I could also assume that because they are Grixis, they might not have Blood Moon. Probably wouldn't be that bad of an assumption to make. All right, so they find Gut Shot. If they had a Phoenix there, they could have gotten it back. Hit in for a couple. Play Spell Bomb. Say go. We are going to get to just hard cast Phoenix territory really quick. Thankfully, they are down to 9. So they don't have all the time in the world. Especially if they're shocking here. Put a lava dart in the yard. They must have just like a super painful mana base. Bolt my token, sure. Could flashback looting. Could play looting from hand. I'll just go this one from hand in case I find a Bowmaster or a Psychic Frog. We'll discard Odawara Counterspell. Say go. If they want to sack a land to get rid of my Bowmasters, that's fine with me. Like, I don't really have much of an intention of fighting over this lava dart. I don't need to do anything about the yard yet. Sure. You got it. Probably could have just played out the Watery Grave there. Yep. I guess keeping around this Watery Grave for like frog food is fine too. Really good draw there. Yep. Part of me wants to just go second Spell Bomb, Watery Grave, Oculus. But at the same time, keeping around some stuff for flashback looting might be pretty good. Definitely a careful balance. All right, cool. Okay, so we keep a hand with Grave Hate. I'm guessing now that we're going to game 3 and they've seen Nihil Spellbomb, they've probably got something to bring in to help with Spellbomb, whether it's meltdowns or some random artifact hate. Maybe they've got Rakdos Charm, something like that. So I don't want to assume Spellbomb is going to be good enough on its own. I really need to find a proactive hand in game 3, a frog hand or a hand with Oculus, like a quick Unearth Oculus. It does look like they're going to have a really difficult time dealing with Oculus itself. I didn't see any creatures post board that made me want to change up my plan a lot. Maybe because they're on Buried Alive, they don't have something like Tameo. Just like not enough room. So we'll run it back. Try to find a proactive hand. Faithless looting, frog, force of negation, unearth. Yeah, I don't think I can throw this back. I know it doesn't have a spell bomb, but so maybe something like frog into force of Manamorphose, Faithless looting into an Oculus, unearth it, something like that would probably give me enough enough velocity to where I don't really care about Arclight that much. I don't think I'm going to lead on Faithless looting. Kind of like game one, I don't really want to go down too much on resources for no reason. Okay. I would be lying if I said I had expected them to have Psychic Frog after not seeing it game 1 or 2. So they're going to be drawing up to 6 cards. We've got 6. We've got a frog stare down. Someone's going to blink, but we do have unearth. See if they want to tussle frogs. I'm 100% snapping off this block if they do, because they've got to use up cards first. Like, they can choose to just have frogs bounce off each other. I'll take that, but if they choose not to, then, like, I get the first attack back with a bigger frog. So we are going all the way on these frogs. All right. If I get the first connected frog hit. Yeah, cracking this right now doesn't really matter. But I will crack it if they do something to get back this Arclight. So you got 2 cards. I'm at a virtual 2. Yeah, let's just get rid of this. Pretty good draw. Lead on, hit you in the face. Also a good draw. So land go, see what happens. They also don't have a graveyard right now, so makes it a little difficult to hop a frog without a yard. Staring down lethal. If I fetched a 10 and their last two cards are Gut Shot, Lightning Bolt, I'm still not dead. All right, and I think I'm just going to surveil here. I could go for the end of turn Fatal Push. But I'd kind of rather try to untap and just find a counter spell to like protect the Fatal Push. Because they're dead right now if they don't have anything. Nice. So cool little 1-0 start. Good to see Arclight Phoenix showing back up in the leagues, especially with what's it called? Buried Alive. That's pretty sick. So yeah, nice little first round. See you back for round number 2. All right, here we are, round number 2 on the play against Amadeus Pro. It's daunting. One lander, just a basic island on the play, no cantrip, so pretty easy chunk back. I do hate them throwing back a hand with Frog and Unearth, but it is what it is. All right, we got a bunch of Tamios. Not the most exciting 6. Do they mold or do they keep? They mold as well. Yeah, I think I'm just going down to 5. Like, even if I keep this, it's Tameo on 1. I probably throw back a Bowmaster so I can keep Force with a Tameo, find a second land. I can counterspell, but I don't think that's where I want to be. Well, not the most exciting 5 either, but we can just throw back like Watery Grave and an island, keep the Bloodstained Mire to go get Thundering Falls. Maybe mill over something that we can unearth. Worst case scenario, if they play a creature we really need to interact with, we could go get Undercity Sewers. Tameo. I'd rather find a frog. I think I'm going to bin Tameo. All right. I know this is super mana inefficient to like bin over this Tameo, or not card inefficient to bin over this Tameo and then unearth it. But Tameo's not my first choice, but I feel like I have to have something. And unfortunately, Tameo constitutes something. But Psychic Frog also constitutes something, so... let's play you out and see what happens. We can flip a Tameo next turn. Fatal Push might help us interact with a Dwarven Mind token to stop a creativity for a turn. They did Raucous Theater over the creativity, which that being like the namesake card of their deck, would lead me to believe it's possible they don't have a third land, or they didn't have a second land when they went for the theater. I have no idea what's going on here. Ah. Okay. Slightly annoying. I think I'm just going to flip this Tameo. There's a reasonable chance that in these top two cards, I find a blue spell. And if I do, then I really like having this Tameo ticking up. It's definitely a risk. It's not a free tick up by any stretch of the imagination. Get that out of here. All right, so persist. I could just Tameo rebuy Unearth. That's probably the play. Put that into the graveyard. Tameo, rebuy, Unearth. Unearth the Oculus. And now I've got Sink into Stupor up to interact with whatever they do on their turn. And hopefully I can just find a way to clock them before they find another payoff. Go Spell Pierce to the yard. I think kind of the hope here is that I can... We'll just sink this persist. So Tameo can rebuy... rebuy the Sink into Stupor next turn. Oh. So I'll have to like take an Archon. Yeah, I'm gonna have to lose a card, rebuy the Sink. Oh boy. Definitely not where I want to be against this deck. It's not like a horrible, horrible spot to be in. Yeah, Thoughtseize is fine. And now they fetch Shock. Yeah, get back the Archon. We discard the Polluted Delta, sack one of these tokens, get back Persist again. Or not get back persist. Get back sink into stupor again. Cast sink. Attack in. Play Tamiyo. Go. Love to make this easy and just flip over another Oculus. Not the most exciting hit in the world. Nice. Definitely not the way I draw up that matchup, but I'm not going to turn it down. We've got Spellbomb to interact with Persist. Consigned to Memory is not horrendous. It does stop an Archon ETB. It stops a Dwarven Mine ETB from creating a Dwarf token that they can creativity away. But I think I'm just going to lead on the Spellbomb plan. If I had something like Engineered Explosives in the board, I'd bring those in. But seeing as how I do not, I cannot. But my primary game plan should just be fairly reasonable against them. Try to counter creativities, get a hard to deal with threat down. Do my best to put some pressure on them early. Cool to see Tamiyo get a bunch of good value. So buy back an Unearth for an Oculus and buy back a Sink into Stupor to take out an Archon. Clutch. Tamiyo got that ice in the veins clutch gene. I know I saw somebody on Twitter talking about creativity or like seeing creativity in leagues or something. And I was not prepared for that to actually be the case. Leyline of the Void. Had a pretty good hand against Leyline. See if they have a removal spell for the Tamiyo. I also don't know for sure just yet if they are just straight like Rakdos or if they're Jund or something. Fatal Push my Tamiyo. You got it. I will not be saving that. All right, let's just get a Watery Grave, play a Frog. Oh. Now we're starting to get towards pretty aggressive Force of Negation territory. All right, so it looks like they are Jund. Bin another card. If it's like a Renin 6, I'm probably letting it resolve and just plan on like discarding enough to grow the Frog and take it out instead of using up my Force of Negation. Bitter Reunion is fine. Okay. So let's find another blue spell. Play the Undercity. Again, I just want to find another blue spell so that I can play out the frog, play out the second frog. Nice. So hopefully I can force something impactful here, untap, hit with the 2 frogs, and find more counter spells. If they got Veil of Summer, they got Veil of Summer, but don't have much else going on. Counter spell, Force of Negation, Spell Bomb. Any of those would be very solid draws here. All right, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So even if I discard this Scalding Tarn to the frog, I can't kill next turn unless like they fetch and shock and do some stuff. So I think I'm just going to play it with the intention of surveilling. If I Bowmasters in response to this, I put them down to 6. I don't think it's worth it. I was going to say I put them down to 6, but if they have Persist on the Archon, like Persist land, and get to Archon hasted up, they take out the Bowmaster, they take out the Bowmaster token, they deal me 6, put me down to 3 off the 2 Archon triggers in the attack. They gain up to 15, and there is no way I can possibly beat that. But holding up the Force Negation to answer Persist. Like, if they draw a Veil of Summer, they draw a Veil of Summer. But holding up the Force for the Persist, I think, gives me the best chance of coming out alive. Because then I can just hit with the frog or frogs, draw a couple cards. Would have found a Spell Bomb. That answers the Archon. Force Negation answers Creativity. And I'm kind of set. So, nice round there. See you back for round number 3. All right. Here for number 3. On the play again. With a 0 lander. So, pretty easy shit. But we do have 3 formerly banned cards. So, you know, maybe that gets us out of it. Then pretty good hand here. So we have turn 1 looting if we want it. Or we can just like wait till turn 2 and looting plus unearth. So we'll keep this. I don't... I could be disciplined and discard the counterspell as like the card I can't cast out of hand. But at the same time, I'm not playing Bowmaster on 1. I'm not playing it on 2. And by that time, I'll have hopefully found a 3rd land to be able to hold up counterspell. So I think I'm going to lean into that a bit. And I also think I'm just going to lead on a tap steam vents here. I could go for the Faithless looting right here, but I don't really want to, like, just throw the Oculus in the yard for nothing. I don't know what I'm up against yet. Looks like hollow one. They're just going to go Wraith, hollow one. Could be multiple hollow ones. Only one? Only one. Do love to see that. So we'll hit the Faithless looting. Discard an Oculus. Discard. Probably just the other looting. Or I could discard the counter spell. Nah, just discard the other looting. See, opponent, you're not the only one that gets to do sketchy graveyard things aggressively. Makes me sad that I didn't keep that Bowmasters, though. That would have been pretty clutch. And they just have the Fatal Push. Ugh. I don't like that. Do like that. Putting you into play tapped. And just plan on jumping the frog and blocking. As long as I get the opportunity to. I hate just losing the frog if they have any sort of red removal spell for it. But I kind of feel like I need to get this channeler off the board and kind of relieve some of this pressure. They mill over the mountain. Yeah. They do have just like a lot of looks for a Fatal Push. But if they tank for too long, I'm going to assume they don't have it. And I think that is exactly what I'm going to do, is assume that they don't have it. Could have a lightning bolt. But I am committed to this. You got it, you got it. If it's like a lightning bolt, you should have responded to the discard there. Okay. So we do trade off. Not the greatest, not the worst. I guess They haven't shown me Thoughtseize. So I guess I would rather discard the looting and the Oculus, keep the Unearth in case I find a counter spell. And I don't see myself blocking, so hiya. Go. Down to 8. It's a pretty decent one. Opponent, I also have a decent one. If they attack with both, I kind of think I'm just going chump chump. That way they don't get revolt. I'm definitely not throwing the Oculus in front of that. Can't afford to lose it. Alright, now untapping with Force and Negation. I feel not invincible, but in a fairly decent position. Make a dude. Survey says what? I'm probably forcing a flashback looting. That would be the biggest bait of all time, though. If their hand was just like flashback looting, fetch land, fatal push. That would probably be fine, right? Because I just have 2 lethal attackers at that point. I'm fine if they kill a blocker. I'm not forcing that. Because even if they do, I can just like block the Nethergoyf, let the hollow one through because I'm not dead to lightning bolt. If they just go attack, attack. Well, if it's just Nethergoyf again. I don't really get this just Nethergoyf attack. Like, I feel like you're kind of happy if Hollow One takes out my 2 tokens. So Hollow One's not blocking Oculus. Force a negation of bestowed Phoenix. Sweet. Love to see that. Alright. Spell bombs. Easy bring in. Stern Scolding. Well, they have Nethergoyf. They might have Inti. Probably have Bowmasters. Scolding hits hard cast Phoenix. It does not hit bestowed Phoenix. So a little less exciting there. Force is pretty rough. I could bring in like Hercule's Recall to try to bounce Hollow Ones. I don't think that's really where I want to be. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go 3 Spell Bomb for 3 Force. If Meltdown wasn't CMC X or less, I know there's another one. I think it's by Force from Amonkhet that's like X in a red, destroy X target artifacts. So it doesn't destroy like all of them under a low CMC, which is really good against like construct tokens, Mox Opal starts. But being able to pay like 3 mana and destroy 2 specific artifacts is kind of nice. That might be worth trying out as well. I know I played it a couple times in Grixis Shadow way back. Alright. This is like decent into slightly slower hands. Not so good into a fast hand. If they just go turn 1, Hollow One. Discard an Inquiry. If they don't have a Hollow One to follow this up, then this probably favored me. It's probably favored me pretty well if they don't have a Hollow One. Yep. Which it does not look like they do. The Hollow One giveth and the Hollow One taketh away. Alright. Here's a Tameo. You got it. Also could have played this a little bit slower and maybe just gone for like a Undercity Sewers into a turn 2 Frog. But I kind of like having Tameo out in case they go for another Burning Inquiry. I just get to flip the Tameo for free. should I choose to let it resolve. They do nothing. Well, Faithless looting could flip a Tameo. They don't know about force. This could be a sign of tar fire. But I think I'm just going to throw down a frog and pass. I've got force. Got anything into turn? Nope. All right. That Burning Inquiry must have just really wrecked their hand. And then these baubles don't appear to be helping. Which honestly is a little funny. All right. Let's start by attacking. Get our clue token. Hit with the frog. See what we draw before I make any big decisions. Another counter spell. I kind of want to just go second frog pass. I am a little bit worried about them just like having a bowmaster and waiting for me to draw. So actually, let's just sit on counter spell. Sit on counter force. Yeah. I think that was a reasonable read. Like, if they're not doing anything, not killing my frog, not killing my Tameo, they could just be sitting on like a Burning Inquiry, Bowmaster, maybe double Bowmaster Inquiry, something like that. Another Goyf is fine. Another Goyf into Inquiry. Sure. Give me a nice little flip tomato. Still get to keep up force in case they've got a Detective's Phoenix. Or that. Don't you dare have another removal spell. All right. So let's take up Tameo. Fly the frog first. Tarn, Odawara. Duplicate, Fatal Push. Just getting rid of stuff that I either can't get back with Tameo or I don't have duplicates of, things like that. And now I kind of think we're at the part of the game where I could just like go in on Frog and counterspell, but I think I've got such a good advantage on like board state, on available resources, that I just don't need to like rush into a play and risk something blowing up in my face here. I think I can afford to just slow down a bit. Fatal push my Frog. Like, honestly, this is probably fine if I want to let it go. But I kind of want to save my Frog, and then Tamiyo can rebuy the counter spell next turn. So they've got another Nethergoyf thing just get back from the yard, which is probably the play here. I could rebuy Fatal Push. I could rebuy Counter Spell. They only have one instant. I do have some artifacts and everything else. All right. That's a pretty good one. So I think that's going to mean I'm not rebuying anything. I'm just going to attack in with my Frog. It's a lot of spell bombs. Am I rebuying something? Yeah, I'll just rebuy Counterspell. Go. And it is important here that if you're planning on like making this block, there is a correct way to do this. I'll show it here in a moment, but I do want the combat damage from this Bowmaster to go through. So if I go block on a Nethergoyf, these are both going at me. And I go Fatal Push this Nethergoyf. Then I can wait for combat damage to go through. Then sack the Spell Bomb. And since this Nethergoyf has a damage marked on it, there's no opportunity for them to like add anything to the graveyard, so it's just going to die. But if you like crack the Spell Bomb ahead of time before damage, then you run the risk of them being able to like cast an instant, cast a Tar Fire or something, and keep the Nethergoyf alive. And I don't want the Nethergoyf alive. I want the Nethergoyf in their graveyard, where it belongs. All right. And now I'll start like drawing some extra cards off the clue tokens. Like I feel like I've had the game kind of firmly locked up for a second, but just hadn't been much of a need to do anything. That out of here. And now it should just be lethal. I don't have to worry about any free spells. I've got draw for turn, draw off my clue just for the sake of keeping counter spell around, and then I could like sack off Tamiyo, rebuy something if I want. What I would probably do here, if my opponent made me play out the rest of this, is I would sack off the Tamiyo to rebuy the other counter spell. Play out Sink into Stupor is a land. Yeah, and then just attack all out. Or attack, hold up double counter spell, discard like 4 things. So, either way, see you back for round number 4. All right, round number 4. Nahuel. I think it's Living End. I feel like that's what... I feel like they usually play Living End, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So, we'll see. It's a really weird start from Living End. Elegant Parlor, keep on top. So if it is just Boros, maybe like Boros Twin or something. I'll see if I can make them spend a removal spell on Tamiyo. I've seen a couple Boros Splinter Twin lists showing up here and there with like Village Bell Ringer and Fear of Missing Out. I don't know if that's what this is, but could just be Boros energy. I feel like one way or the other we should know pretty soon. Alright. Just run-of-the-mill Boros energy. I hate that we're going to have a pretty decent league going that's just going to lose to Boros energy after the deck just have like 3 things banned from it. That is a Flage. Tamiyo gone. Alright, am I just shooting down this cat token? Seems reasonable. See if they want to flip a Johnny. Counterspell's a good draw for this eventual Flage. I got Spell Pierce for their One Ring. Oh. That's right. They can't One Ring. They can only Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Alright. I wouldn't mind seeing like a fetch land here. I know this is like the most telegraphed second Bowmasters of all time, but we gotta do what we gotta do out here. All right. Got a guide. Yep. Energy doing energy things. So we do get to draw a card, which I enjoy doing. Just attack in. If they want to chump, that's fine. Say go. Hold up our 27 counter spells, approximately. Feels exponentially different when you've got not One Rings. When your opponent's playing things like Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Not the One Ring. So now Consigned to Memory hits a Johnny ETB or Cat Death Trigger, Flage ETB, technically hits Fable ETB or Loot, Static Prison. Like I wasn't a big fan of Consigned before, and I think now it's even less so. I do think I want to keep in all the forces, so I think I'm just going to cut Tamiyo, cut Spell Pierce. Do I even want Bowmaster? Bowmaster might just be like significantly worse now that One Ring's gone. Like, it wasn't great before, but is it just less so without the One Ring? All right. Yay! Did they mold to Oblivion? Is that what it was? Yeah, they molded to 5 and then conceded. So, I mean, on one hand, I hate that that's how it goes in a matchup that you're recording for YouTube. But at the same time, down with energy. Down with energy. All right, Catch you back for the trophy match, round number 5. All right, here for round number 5. On the draw, do have a turn 2 Psychic Frog. We got some Bowmasters. So a little bit of help against something unfair. Opponent has kept their 7. I think I'm going to do the same and hope they're on a creature deck that I can interact with. Hardened Scales. How do I feel about Hardened Scales? At least I think it's Hardened Scales. It could be Broodscale combo. This is gonna be aggressive, but I want to untap with a frog on a clear board. I know. Super aggressive. Got back a Glaring Flesh Raker. Yes. Okay. How are we going to do this? I've obviously got Unearth for the Oculus. I can Fatal Push the Broodscale. Part of me wants to Bowmaster the Spawn and Fatal Push the Broodscale. Might be a little aggressive. That doesn't do a whole lot for me. I don't love this spot. I don't love this spot at all. All right, so I need to counter this before they get their Scion token so they can't pay for the Spell Pierce. Do unfortunately get the token. Okay. All right, so let's go discard Oculus. Yeah. I want to hit a land so that I can double Bowmaster and take out the Broodscale. That would be best case scenario. Not a land, so I have to pass and hope to interact with like a Blade of the Blood Chief. Rumble is fine. So you get a Springleaf, Darksteel, Forest. They get a Mox Opal. Okay. Oh, Mox Opal triggers it too. Did not know that. Does this do anything? They put a counter on the Broodscale. I think I have to counterspell this. They put a counter on the Broodscale. Hit me for 5. Have another token enter. That's 6. Sack off the 4 tokens, the 3 and the new one off the Broodscale to pump the Ballista. And that kills me. I guess I have a chump blocker. Should have thought about that. You have no metal craft. That kills me exactly. Ah, that's so brutal. Missing that one land. All right, Stern Scolding, Deluge, Consigns. I don't think I want Meltdown. I don't think I want Recall. Force looks pretty bad. Pierce looks pretty bad. Man, I hate that. I hate that so much. Would I have actually just been fine if I let the Ballista resolve and then counterspelled the Kozilek's command? I just like completely forgot that I had a chump blocker available. I think this hand's too fair. Like, turn 1 Tameo, turn 2 Counterspell is nice. But that means I'm not getting Surveil lands. I'm not really filling up the yard aggressively for Oculus. If this hand had like a Faithless looting instead of the second Oculus, I think I would keep it. Alright. Throw back Tameo. I kind of want Tameo. I think I'm going to throw back Thundering Falls. I think there's a lot of value in like having Tameo to maybe rebuy Stern Scolding or Consign to Memory. Yep. All right. It's kind of unfortunate to be in a spot where if they just like jam, there's not really anything I can do about it. Oh, Dark Steel gives them Metalcraft. That's pretty bad for me if they just have a Kozilek's command right here. Yep. Forgot the Darksteel Citadel was an artifact land. But I honestly don't think I would have changed up my plays too much. It's kind of an unfortunate rollout. Like, I didn't see Eldrazi Temple, Darksteel Citadel, game 1. Another Kozilek's command. Yep. So I'm just like not sure they're things I would have played around. Just counter this. Yep. Maybe find an unearth. Well, it's not an unearth. Kozilek's third Kozilek's command and response. Oh. Alright, I just gotta play Oculus and go for some damage, right? Can't really afford to play too scared. Does look like they've got the third Kozilek's command. All right. If you got combo, you got combo. You've got part combo. Do you have a payoff? It's like I'm not really scared of an infinitely large Broodscale. So I can flip the Tameo, but that taps me out and I die. I can attack with Tameo, make a clue. Alright, so I think I have to attack with Tameo, make a clue, play second Tameo. Just like have to find something. Oh, that probably does it, right? Yeah, they found a Flesh Raker, so now they can just go infinite. If you haven't seen this combo for some reason, Blade of the Blood Chief puts a counter on the creature. It's equipped to whenever another creature dies. Basking Broodscale, whenever you make a token, creates a, or whenever you put a 1/1 counter on it, makes a 0/1 Eldrazi spawn token. So it's something like Glaring Flesh Raker. You can sack the token, make a mana, put a counter on the Broodscale, make another token, sack it, make a mana, repeat that infinitely. So it's like Flesh Raker just gives you infinite ETB triggers for your colorless creatures to ping. In the case of the second Blade of the Blood Chiefs there, it lets my opponent have like 2 infinitely large attackers. So that's how it goes sometimes. Could have been better. I think if I thought through that game 3 or that game 1 a little bit longer, and realized that I don't think the walking ballista mattered. If I'd realized I had a chump blocker, I could have just let the walking ballista go, and then I would have had counterspell for the Kozilek's command, and I would have killed him on the backswing. And I think going into game 3 on the play would have been a really big deal. So that's how it goes sometimes. Regardless, I do think the deck was pretty fun. Faithless looting was nice. Tamiyo did a lot of work. I didn't miss Thought Scour. Like, not a huge fan of Thought Scour anyway, so it wasn't a tearjerker to cut. During those middle rounds, the deck did feel like it did a pretty good job against some of the unfair decks with Force Negation, Faithless Looting helping to dig, protecting Frog, protecting Tamiyo. We did see a few opponents who were able to answer Oculus fairly well, so I don't think Oculus is like the invincible demon of the format that it was when it first came out. Especially now that going into these unbans, we got a lot more fair stuff going on. So Oculus is a little bit of a glass cannon, and once you add in Faithless Looting being sort of card disadvantage, you run the risk of just running out of resources really quickly. So do be careful to limit the amount that you're just going all in on something like Oculus. If you can afford to get an extra attack in with Tamiyo, get another clue, that might be a good idea. Things like that. Bowmaster was pretty solid. I was happy to see a bit of a return of it. We've got like these Burning Inquiry and Faithless Looting decks all over the place. So, at least for now, I'm probably Team Bowmaster. Yeah, other than that, I might try Leyline of the Void again. I think Spellbomb was fine, but Leyline of the Void felt like it would have shut down some decks. Like completely shut down Arclight, completely shut down Hollow One. And those are pretty big deals. Probably need something like a Pithing Needle or two in the sideboard. Especially if Belcher makes a big return. But we'll see. It's a work in progress. We got plenty of time to check it over. We're only on like step 1 of the many decks that I've got to try out in the format before the RCs start. So as always, thank you so much for coming and hanging out, watching the video. Greatly appreciate it. Enjoy the content. Feel free to leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what to try next. Otherwise, hope you all have a fantastic rest of your evening. Stay safe. Enjoy some good food and company. I will catch y'all back live later. Adios for now.